Let's go next to Bobby from New Jersey. Bobby from Jersey, you're on.
Hello, David. How's it going?
It's going well, Bobby. Thank you.
Thank you. My question is that a lot of times, a lot of lefty commentators often cite that things like Medicare for All has a 70% approval rating, but a lot of times they don't consider that it's soft support and don't know that the support is goes down whenever it's mentioned that there's a tax increase and
Yeah,
whenever that
so let's,
that
Bobby, I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to make clear I cover that every time I talk about support for Medicare for all. So it sounds like you're talking about other commentators, which I wouldn't really be able to speak to, but I completely agree with you. There's very detailed information about this. The Kaiser Family Foundation has shown that, the more details you give about how Medicare all would actually work. I don't mean scaremongering about government takeovers and communism, just accurate information. Support does go down. So I think it's fair to say some Medicare for all support is softer.
Right, but the point is that a lot of people kind of take polls too literally and oftentimes don't know the fine details behind them.
Right. I
If you know
agree
what I
with you.
mean.
I agree with you. And that's the
That
case
that
with many more issues than just Medicare for all. Now, I think
that's just an
that
example.
it's also important, Bobby, to know that regardless of whether something is or isn't popular or is not understood by the public, it might be a good thing or a bad thing. Like that's a different discussion.
Yes, and do you think sometimes the quantity of the support isn't as important as the quality of the support? Like
Well,
someone
I
like
mean, it's
Trump has never had the
sure,
majority, but he's
sure.
had strong support.
The problem in general with basing whether something should happen solely on whether it has support is that the US as a population has supported really bad things many times in history. And there are arguably certain things we shouldn't put to a popular vote. I mean, you look at, when states vote about should two gay people be able to get married. Why are we even putting that to a vote? Like it's a fundamental, just basic human rights issue. So I think that looking at popular support for issues and candidates is one piece of how we analyze the merits of something, but it's just one piece.
Right. Thank you, David.
All right, my pleasure. Bobby from Jersey, always great to hear from you. Why don't we go next to, let's go to LJ from Vegas. LJ from Las
No.
Vegas, what's going on?
Hey, David. I'm actually a longtime listener. Thank you for taking my call.
How are things in Vegas? Normally I go twice a year, but I've not been now because of the pandemic since October of 2019. I'm hopeful that I will be back in October of this year if all goes well. How has it been?
Funny thing you say that. Well, a lot of my family right now at the moment, they're currently on unemployment. Thankfully, here we do have a governor that's been taking good care of us.
Yeah.
I'm not on unemployment. I went back after a few months to my job. The funny thing is I actually got to meet Sam Cedar at one of the conventions you come out to Vegas for.
Oh, really?
You were supposed to arrive, but he said something. Maybe you were in a doctor's appointment, or you had some kind of. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but
And now hold on, I had a doctor's appointment in Vegas.
no, 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 no. You were where you are, right? But
Oh,
Sam
oh,
Cedar said
oh,
you're
oh,
supposed to come out
oh.
to convention,
When I
but you had
had
some kind of.
when I had the appendectomy, that's right. When I had my emergent, well, every appendectomy, I guess, is mostly an emergency unless you're going somewhere where you need it to have it preemptively removed, which sometimes happens when you go on certain missions to Antarctica. They require preemptive appendix removal. But no, that's right. I ended up not making it because it was only a few weeks after my appendectomy, and I was not cleared to lift my luggage, so I couldn't go. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, I was hoping to meet you too because I actually worked for the convention you were going to. So I worked for the exhibitor services department. So I was super excited to meet you. But then Sam Cedar was like, "No, he's not coming out." And I was like, "Oh man, I would have loved to like shook your hand and said hello."
Next time, we'll hopefully be back in October.
Oh, I don't work for that property anymore.
Oh,
So
okay.
as
That's
much
too
as I
bad.
wish, but if you're ever in Vegas and you ever need someone to show you around, I'd be more than glad to give you a lift or help you in any way.
I
So.
love it.
Just one comment I wanted to make, though, and one thing that I've always wanted to discuss is that I always feel that here in the United States, or at least globally, how we look like is we're always defined on the smaller percentage of, and whatever percentage that might be, of the extremes of, let's say, the right and the left, right?
Mm.
And I always feel like it is a unvalid argument to always constantly keep saying, well, in America, you have this problem in of, all these issues and everything like that. And it's just a suppression of the minority that always gets the spotlight rather than the
I'm going to push back.
accomplishments of.
No, I don't know that I agree. Let me push back a little bit on that.
Okay.
So I think that there's a different, so I guess like, let's imagine, would you agree just for our conversation that we kind of established that the wacky far right that is sometimes discussed would be kind of like QAnon, white supremacists, these people who think Bill Gates is going to microchip you and that, there's no virus. Like, are we okay with that as the cartoon of the far right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then are we okay with like the cartoon of the far left as like actual communist, socialist Marxists who want Stalinist USSR, whatever? Like, could we say that's the left caricature?
I, as a Cuban American, completely push back on that. Of course, that that's who I am. But yes, I do agree that that's the characteristic of the far left.
If you go elsewhere in the world, the U.S. isn't known for this socialist left contingent. If you look at other parts of the world, when people think about what is the U.S., they see the U.S. way more as a sort of libertarian, free market, capitalism unhinged thing. And so while you and I might say that what I just outlined is typically seen as the extreme left by which the U.S. is judged, the world doesn't look at the U.S. and think that the so-called socialists or communists or whatever really have much of an impact. And the truth is that they don't. I mean, none of them are in power. I think so I don't know that I agree with you that around the world, that's how the U.S. is sort of caricatured.
No, I know. I completely agree with you. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes people think that the America itself is like, what's a good representation of this? Is that we're all gun-toting maniacs who just want to shoot each other constantly all the time, right?
Now you're talking. That often is the perception in much of the rest of the world. You're right now.
And I completely agree that there are a percentage of people in the United States who are people who love to have guns and love to, use them in any aspect of their life. I do feel like the overwhelming people who are in the United States, do have a mixed opinion. And I know you've discussed it with other like special guests of yours, right? Where it's not a left-right issue. It's more of like a quadrant.
Yes.
Where, yes, you may be liberal on some things, but you might also be, what is it?
Well, it's authoritarian, libertarian, and then economically left-right is often the kind of 4-box quadrant that's used.
Correct. And I think that if we fall into the trap of constantly trying to make everything left and right, then we're missing the issues, the grander issue of not everybody falls into a left-right kind of personality.
Agree. Certainly no argument there.
Yeah. And that's just a comment I wanted to make, that sometimes maybe we should stop going from what's the left doing, what's the right doing, but what are people doing specifically in their, aspects in lives.
No argument from me, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, LJ from Las Vegas, thank you so much for the call. We're going to take a quick break. If you're holding and wanting to talk to me, don't hang up, because we're going to take some more calls right after this short break. One of our sponsors is Privacy, a free service that protects your credit and debit card. I use Privacy every time I buy something online. I installed the app on my phone and the Privacy desktop browser extension. Now, when I pay for anything, Privacy autofills a virtual credit card number. The money's taken out of my bank account. I don't have to give out my real card number or banking info to anyone. You can create and delete the virtual cards anytime. I especially love it for free trials because I can destroy the virtual card number as soon as I give it to the company, and I know I won't be charged in the future. Privacy also has a feature called Shared Cards, which makes it easy to split payments with friends. Parents can manage a virtual card for their kid with spending limits. Businesses can manage virtual cards for employees to use for company expenses. There are premium plans available, but Privacy's regular service is totally free to use. And right now they'll give you $5 just for signing up when you go to privacy.com/Pakman. The link is underneath this video.